Okay, well, let's just start with a little light blessing and ask for that guidance. So, Father, Mother God, we welcome ourselves again into your love, light, and sound, asking to be filled, surrounded, protected with the light of the Christ and the Holy Spirit. We ask for the love, guidance, direction, and protection of the traveler and the preceptor through John Roger, bringing forward only that which is for our highest good, and revealing to us in ways that we can understand whatever the inner guidance might be, and accompanied with the strength and the courage to act upon it. And for this opportunity to be in fellowship with the divine within each of us, we are truly grateful. And so it is, Berush Beshan. So I'm going to do a little unusual for me. Ta-da. It's coming up. So there we are. Tonight, we're going to talk about creating an ideal scene. And for those of you that already have the book, there's a few sections in there about that. Several pieces there that I only pointed out because if you want to try to remember some of what we're doing here later on, it's in the book. Exercises, visualizations, and sort of basic tips. So there you go. A word or two about ideal scene. I had a call with someone today who was a little concerned about creating an ideal scene about things that might manifest here at the physical level, when what the person really cared about was what was going on at the soul level. And of course, I think most of us would say, yes, yes. And so one of the things that you can do with an ideal scene is you can create all kinds of layers with that. I have ideal scenes about being conscious and aware as I go through the day, about how do I bring more loving into my daily expression. And of course, I have ideal scenes that are also about the quality of my work and things about my home life and relationship with Inez. So there's lots of things you can do with it. Now, JR in several discourses and a bunch of seminar tapes also talks about, he doesn't use the term ideal scene. He talks about creative imagination. He talks about manifesting and precipitating. And part of what he was saying is that up in spirit, creation is complete, but not everything has been brought down to this level. And each of us has an ability to bring down into this level, or to precipitate, as he calls it, any manner of things, from physical things like jobs or homes or whatever, over to the more qualitative aspects of how we live. So I just want to keep that open in terms of what we go through here. Now, the slide I was going to show you here is something about what's called the reticular formation. And that's a really important thing to at least have a general understanding of. You don't have to be a neuroscientist for this stuff to work. But for those of you that are kind of more on the hard science focus and you want sort of evidence, this is been known for many, many decades, but only in the last few years has neuroscience gone into the art of manifestation. And how do we generate wisdom, and how do we access wisdom in a way that manifests into reality? So let me say the reticular formation is about the size of your pinky, and it sits at the base of the skull. And its job is to filter information. Now, the reticular system will filter information in, meaning it'll let data in, and it'll also filter data out. Now, curiously, most of what the filter is doing all day long is filtering stuff out. So what do I mean by that? So let me ask you a relatively dumb kind of question. What's the dominant color of the room that you're in right now? Now, notice if you have to look around. you've been in that room for a little bit, maybe many, many, many times, and yet you never really noticed the dominant color. Why? Because the color isn't all that important most of the time. Now, if you're into decorations or you're rearranging things or you're looking to paint, the color comes in as important. But for the most part, it's useless data, and the brain is designed to filter out the useless. What it does is it filters in what you say is useful. So if I said to you, the most important color is red, can you look around your room right now and see if you find any red? Literally. How many of you see any red? Okay. And now look to see if there's any green. So if you're noticing green or you're noticing red, where did that dominant color go while you were noticing the other color? And for most of us, it slipped into the background. It's not like it wasn't there. It's just that we said something else was more important. So a friend of mine is a world famous neurosurgeon. His name is Jim Doty, D-O-T-Y. He has a beautiful book that's called Into the Magic Shop. And you might, if you're interested in the neuroscience of this, he gives a lot of information about how this practice and process works. And he has a new book coming out later this year, which goes into it in real depth. But he has a way of describing the role of the reticular formation in manifesting reality. And he says, in one way to think about it, the reticular formation is kind of like night vision goggles. So if you've ever seen a movie with police or military or whatever, with night vision, it lets you see things that aren't ordinarily visible in the dark. He said the way the reticular formation works is it's like dropping night vision goggles down, and all of a sudden it filters in information that was always there, but you didn't previously see it. So how do you program the reticular formation? Well, it can be as simple as I just said, notice red. But it also is programmed by beliefs. So, good things happen to other people, but not me. Okay, the reticular system is going to look for anything good and filter it out. Or good things happen to me all the time, and all of a sudden to start to notice good things. It's almost as simple as that. In many ways, it's even more simple. So knowing that we all have some form of a spiritual focus, this first slide says, how are you being called? And that's not a bad question to keep in my consciousness. I have it sitting in front of me over my little vision board. And it just keeps reminding me that Spirit has something to bring to me if I will listen. And so part of listening is to notice how I am being called. Another way of saying that is, what are you seeing that's not yet visible? Now, each of us have probably had the experience of something happened in life, it kind of blew up on us, and some part of us went, oh my God, I knew it. So do you resonate with that? Have you had that experience? Oh God, how did that happen? I knew it was going to go wrong. Well, there's something going on there. And the reverse side of that is, you ever have something really great happen and you go, oh, yes, I knew it. Well, the difference between, oh God, I knew it, and oh yes, I knew it, is simply sometimes we pay attention and sometimes we don't. And at the inner level, we are being called and we're being shown things. Now, I had the experience of working with JR, as many of you know, running a lot of trainings together. And he was helping me quite a bit learn the notion of how to see with the inner vision, what he called the spiritual eyes. And when I first started working, he said, you're pretty good at seeing with the physical eyes, but what are you seeing with the spiritual eyes? And in a similar way, what are you hearing with the spiritual ears? Centuries ago, Jonathan Swift said, vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to other people. Rumi said, there's a voice that doesn't use words, listen. So when I ask, how are you being called? Before creating an ideal scene of any kind, I like to stop, quiet myself, go inside, and invite the presence of the inner master to guide me, pretty much as I called us forward into the light tonight, asking to be shown or to be revealed to that which is for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned, and to be shown in ways that I can understand. So dialoguing with the inner master, what is coming next? Where would I best put my focus? How could I bring that forward to me is a really good starting place for creating an ideal scene. Just allowing your consciousness to open and receive the inner guidance that's always present. In the lexicon of my book, what does your soul talk say? Now, the self-talk may say, I really want more X in my life. That could be job, money, house, car, whatever. But the soul is asking, well, why? And those of you who've been through Insight, we did that exercise we called symbols versus experience. The symbol side is that job, house, car, money, but the symbol side is more about what experience do I hope to have if I have enough job, house, car, money, whatever that might be. So part of ideal scene then is to think in at least two sections. What's the area of focus and why does it matter? And as you get more accomplished with this, you'll notice that the why matters more than the what. In fact, the more we become aware of the inner why, what's the experience that is being called forward? What experience am I being called into? There are many, many ways to achieve that. Whereas when I focus more on the physical manifestation, that can be quite limiting. In fact, sometimes when people ask me what I do for a living, I say, well, I help people get what they think they want as fast as possible. So I can ask, was that it? Because we've all had the experience of wanting it and getting it and wondering why. So doing this kind of meditation process with the inner master is also having a dialogue with my true self and getting those to line up with what's being called forward. Where am I wanting to get and how do I get there? So as we move through this, we're just asking that the light illuminate our own soul's wisdom. Now, I'll come back to this in a little bit, but I want to pause for a moment and ask at this point, if anyone has any questions, any experiences, anything along that line. Now, if you've got a question, the easiest way to do that is at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little thing that says reactions. And if you click on that, at the very bottom of that little thing that pops up is something that says raise hand. So you'll see on my screen, I've got a little yellow hand up. That's the easiest way because that makes it pop straight up to our screen so we can see who's got their hands up. So there I see Zeus. Zeus, please. What have you got for us?
I'd say Zeus, this is like fabulous. That's all I can say. You're nailing it. I'm on it. It's loud over here, but I just really love, I've been really chasing the reticular activator inside of myself, going like, why am I constantly looking there? And of course, it really started to pop up because I liked a certain fiat in Europe, this 500 fiat. It was everywhere. But then I kept saying, well, why do I see that? But then, and I find the same thing happens not just visually, but negatively. Like if I want to let the reticular activator, probably the negative power started it or some belief starts it, I'll go negative on the reticular activator. Everything that's good will be taken away and I'll just see what's not working, right? I'll just focus on the reticular act. You know, maybe I'll get off, but basically, can you go there? Maybe I like the awareness. By the way, your being soul intention for the ideal scene is fantastic. And then I think the awareness that maybe the downtime, bring the downtime enough to go that my awareness caught it and say, come back now to see red again. Oh yeah, okay, I see red again. But anyway, if you want to go into that, maybe I'm ahead of your talk, but I do like how the negativity has the reticular activator as well. It just goes off on it, whether it's a negative thought that kicks it out, kicks it in, or kicks it into action. I mean, why did I take interest in the fiat? And then when I'm negative, I'll take interest on like, hell, nothing's working out. The news is a kickoff on the reticular activator, right? Anyway, I'm all over the place. Ciao.
No, that's good, Zeus. See, again, the interesting thing about our brain is that it's neutral. It doesn't really care what we focus on. It's going to say, oh, okay, that's what you want. Great, you got it. And it will focus. Now, years and years ago, I'll go back into Insight days. Those of you who've been through Insight, there was a section we would talk about beliefs and negative beliefs and limiting beliefs. And we talked about beliefs that create poverty. Sometimes we have conflicting beliefs. I want more, but I don't deserve it, or I'm not worthy. And there's a whole bunch of things that go on in there. So we were doing an Insight 1 in Santa Monica at the old 2101 building. I'm standing in front of, I don't know, maybe 150 people. And I can't remember who I was working with, but someone trying to work with the same thing you're talking about in terms of sort of a negative focus or negative belief. And so I was saying, well, all of a sudden, wait a minute, here's one of mine I didn't even recognize. I think I put it in the book. When I was growing up, my parents were Depression children, survivors, World War II, all that kind of stuff. And my mom would have this litany. She would say to us, just about every day we'd hear, well, we may not have much, but we'll always have food on the table and clothes on the back and shoes on the feet. Food on the table, clothes on the back, shoes on the feet. That went through me like, Doublemint gum. I mean, it was just there. So I'm standing on this stage and all of a sudden I go, oh, in fact, I think maybe it was an Abundance and Prosperity workshop. And this thing comes booming in. I mean, oh my God. In my closet, I had probably 12 to 15 Brioni suits. Now, Brioni suits cost a lot of money. And I had probably another 10 pair of Ferragamo shoes. Well, now that's a lot of money all by itself. And then I started thinking, how much I liked fine dining and good wine. And all of a sudden I went, oh my God, my bank account was next to nothing, but I had clothes on my back, fine clothes on my back. And I had food in my stomach, fine food in my stomach, and shoes on the feet, fine shoes. I literally went home that night, and I just made a list of all the clothes and the shoes and the wine, and I added up what it cost. And I had probably 15 times as amount money spent on that stuff as I had in the bank account. And it kind of went, oh no. And then I started going, hey, every time I found a little extra money, hear that phrase, extra money? My brain says, oh, it's extra. What do we do with it? Well, there's clothes to be had and shoes to be had and food to be had, and I'd spend it. What a revelation about how this process works. Now, it wasn't to say, I don't deserve money. It was to say, well, we won't have much, but what we will have are these other things. So as soon as I would notice extra money, my reticular system would start to notice, oh, look, there's a whole nother suit color I don't have, or a tie color I don't have, or whatever. So I think one part of what we're saying, asking Zeus, is that as I choose a focus, my brain will find data to support that focus. Now,
I think you said it too. You had awareness to catch it, which is amazing. So
yeah.
that's the growing part that I'm learning.
And so there's one of the things you can do with that is, the old Emile Coué affirmation, every day in every way, I'm getting better, better, and better. Every day in every way, I'm awakening more, increasing my awareness, and knowing the divine will. So, I mean, you do this every day in your reality. And yet, what did JR say he was doing? If anybody asked, working on his bad habits. Well, we all got the bad habits. And he called it stinking thinking. So to notice where the thoughts go, see, JR taught us energy follows thought. So wherever we place the thought, we'll produce the energy to manifest it. But that also is instructing the reticular system to start to notice where we're going, or how we can get there, or what might be in the way. So does that get to what you're asking about?
Yeah, I just love your topic is right up my alley. I appreciate you, love you, and I might sign off because I'm learning to facilitate Insight too. Your creation and JR's.
Well, they will be blessed, my brother. Thank you.
I'm blessed to get this energy from you, and I just love you and encourage you to keep doing it. There's so much to learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
My first Insight One facilitator. Insight One facilitator, Russell Bishop. I love you.
Fantastic. So it says Maritza, but is that Maritza or Steve that wants to share?
I'm reasonably certain it's me. Yeah. So I don't know if this will fit, Russell, but so I'm working with something, certain patterns, right? And in the reticular, I get certainly have some understanding and some of the stuff that around there. But I was looking at some patterns that have kind of cycled, and I was thinking about law of reversibility, things like that, and then I stumbled upon this quote from JR about cell level memory, and he talks about thought forms being kind of stuck at sometimes at a cellular level. So one of the things I'm working on is sometimes when a thought that's taking me off track comes up, I'm starting to ask myself, where is this thought located in my body cellularly? And I won't even just always call it a negative thought. It just might be, you're like that vector diagram. Sometimes it's just a thought that's going in a direction different than the direction I'm trying to focus. And I notice some of them are old and habit induced, or that, so I won't label them, but I'll just say, oh, I'm asking the question, is this stored somewhere? Can I follow where it's stored? And then I'm seeing if I can either just love it, or put light with it, or use one of the techniques JR has taught us for clearing it. And, just seeing if over time I can do what this article, not even a whole article, but maybe about a page from JR about renewing myself at that cellular level to clear out some of those things that are blocks, restrictions, limitations, whatever you want to call them. So I don't know if that all fits in with what you're working with here, but I would just say that's been recent in my consciousness.
Well, yeah, and kind of what I hear there. So as with all of this, you just have to take this, as Jared would say, and see what resonates for you. But I kind of heard a number of things being conflated there. Being mixed together that don't belong together, but they could seem like it. So not every thought is coming out of the cell level. So Jared would often say, you're not responsible for the thoughts that come into your head, just the ones you hold on to. Okay, so one of the first questions to ask, is this mine or someone else's? Now, neurologically speaking, thoughts are frequencies. So now if I really back up, the entire universe is nothing but energy, and energy is a frequency. Frequencies are energies, energies are frequencies. Sound is one set of frequencies, and we can hear some of what's audible, but others can hear, like animals can hear sounds we can't. Same thing visually. We see some part of light, what we call visible light, but there's other bands of light that are visible to animals, but not us. But all of this is just a different part of a frequency. Okay, so a thought is a frequency. Now, sometime in the last year or so, some researchers found the ability to create a piece of equipment that does not touch the body. Now, there are skull caps and they can map your brain and where activity is going on. This is something external to the body that can detect when you're thinking. And I can't tell you what you're thinking, but it can even begin to tell what part of the brain is being engaged. Now, that's breakout, because it's the first time someone's been able to say the wave of thought is detectable. Now, we all know that because we've experienced it, where you can tune into somebody else and have a sense of what's going on. And the more we do the inner work, the more we can become attuned to that. So the first question, mine or someone else's? And if it comes from someone else, if that's the primary awareness, a lovely little phrase is just to say, and I return this to the sender with love and compassion for the highest good of all concerned. Now, if it seems to be coming back frequently, now you have to ask yourself, what's my opening to this? So people who watch the news regularly, whether they choose a CNN or a Fox News or whatever, they're opening to a certain set of frequencies that they then become accustomed to, and that becomes their normal. Now, it's very easy at that point when we attune to something else like that to create an opening for an implant to come in. Now, JR talked a little bit about implants. Implants can be positive and negative in the focus. You know, kind of like hypnosis, you will now experience. Or a negative, you don't really believe that, do you? Is an implant. And the implant is, you have to be stupid to think that. So there's a lot of layers of all this. But if it comes back and you go, this is mine, then you can go, so, okay, now where did that come from? Where can I go? Disconnect, clear, cleanse, heal, seal, etc. And disconnect from it. You can put light on its pathway, yes, and let the light follow back to wherever that resides, and it will know where to go. And let it heal, let it fill. So I used to use the example when I would run a training, and I still use it from time to time. If you've ever had a bottle that you wanted to clean out, you know, we usually put soap and water and and what's left, soap suds. Eventually, what most of us do, we'll put the bottle under the tap and just let the water go in. What happens to the soap suds? They come back out the top. Well, am I focusing on the soap suds or am I focusing on the water? I'm focusing on the water, and the water knows how to take care of the soap suds. Now, the soap suds come back out the same way they went in. There's only one hole. Well, now, if I ask for the light to come in, to fill, surround, and protect me, to cleanse, and to remove anything that's no longer necessary, it's going to disturb the inner soap suds, and they'll come back up and out. Now, one of the things that JR counseled, and I think that's in a couple of discourses for sure, and definitely in a bunch of tapes, said, be careful when the thing starts to come back out, that you don't grab onto it. and focus on it, because now you're just going to put it right back in. So all you do is now this is where you said you love it. Well, bless it and love it as it returns to sender. Is that helpful?
Super helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's a lot more there, but that's what I was kind of getting inside with that right now.
I appreciate it.
But make certain that we disentangle. See, all these energies get tangled up together, kind of like clothes on the back, food on the table. You know, it took me 30 years to notice that because it's all interwoven. So it's disentangling and helping to find that clear alignment.
Yeah. Yeah. And knowing that it's not all the same thing. I mean, that's also helpful. Like those discrete questions, like, is this mine? You know, is there an opening? How can I, spiritualize and then follow it and then let it go without grabbing it back and putting it back in?
Sure.
Yep.
And you can always ask, no matter what it is that comes forward, how is this for my learning, upliftment, or growth?
Exactly. Thank you.
Because it didn't come in for any other reason.
Right.
Remember, this is the classroom and the karma is the curriculum.
Yep, exactly. No, that's the other thing, is love it all and asking it, what am I to learn? Yep.
Well, that's the graduate degree, loving.
I hope so. Thanks, Russ.
Yeah. Before I do the next little piece, any other questions or anything?
Judith Johnson has her hand up, Russell.
Oh, it must be a physical hand. Okay. Oh, no, I see it. There it is. Hi, Judith.
Whoops. Hi there. First of all, thank you so much for our work earlier today. It really cleared the impasse I had. So I'm grateful for that. The other thing is I wanted to add that another dimension of this whole process about ideal scene that is really challenging is that 82% of the information that comes into us is visual. And because of that visual domination, it's almost like an addiction to seeing things in form rather than relating to them on a spiritual level. And so it makes it all the more important for us to keep going in and asking through the eyes of spirit.
Yeah. And see, as an educational psychologist, I will have bumped into that formulation before myself. But if a person's blind, that doesn't necessarily play out. But the person who's blind still has inner vision.
Right.
And since all information is an energy, a frequency, we then take it and transform it into something that we either see, hear, or feel. And then many of us will do at least two of those simultaneously. We'll see something and then we'll hear something about it, or we'll hear something and feel something about it, or see and feel, or, all that kind of good stuff. But rising above it to that question is, what is spirit presenting to me? What is it having me notice? And why does that matter right now? Or does it matter?
That's why I appreciated those questions so much, because, without the spiritual focus, which we're so blessed to have, it's so easy to be seduced by personal preferences of things.
Yeah.
And the desire patterns.
That's for sure.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So let me say a couple more things now about creating ideal scenes. And notice that I used the term scenes as in plural. So I'm reaching over here to my right on my desk, and here's a folder that's labeled ideal scenes. And inside of it, I've got printouts of my most recent ideal scenes. Notice there's a lot of them, but they all have something in common. the very first line on every one of them, well, the first thing just says a date and what's the ideal scene about. But the very first line is really important line. It says, this or something better for the highest good of all concerned. Now, many of us have heard that, but don't necessarily apply it with regularity. And this or something better for the highest good of all concerned is like the prelude message to spirit that says, this is what I think I want, but if there's something that's better for me, please bring it in instead. So it's my spiritual default that is kind of a form of protection.
5 ounces. This isn't 9. 10 ounces.
Okay, if you're talking in another room, if you could just mute your microphone, that'd be great. So this or something better for the highest good of all concerned is a way of telling spirit that what I'm really after is the spiritual will. So thy will, not my will. We've all heard that kind of phrasing before. The second line that's on every one of them, which I picked up from my dear wife Inez, I am experiencing miracles as my seemingly impossible good is happening now. Now that's a great phrase. I'm experiencing miracles is both telling spirit, hey, I'm open to receive these things because I am experiencing them. Not, I could be, maybe I might. I am experiencing miracles. As my seemingly impossible good is a message to my basic self that says, well, just because I don't think it's possible doesn't mean it isn't. As my seemingly impossible good is happening now. I'm experiencing miracles as my seemingly impossible good is happening now. Now, those are the main caveats for any one of these ideal scenes and every one of these ideal scenes. The purpose of the ideal scene is that it gives a blueprint to spirit that says, this is where I'm like to go with spirit support, blessing, and alignment. So from then on, we can start to create language. Now, something that I think is fundamentally the most important part about an ideal scene is the quality of experience you associate with it. So, you know, if you're looking to find a new place to live, a new home, a new apartment, a new whatever, yeah, it's pretty important that you think about, well, what do I want the bathroom to be like? And what do I want the kitchen to be like? And what do I want the bedroom to be like? And all that kind of good stuff. But more important to that is that you associate the quality of experience. So I might say, I love the elegant feel when I'm in my kitchen preparing healthy and wonderful food. So the notice was, I love the experience in that kitchen. So I can begin to visualize what I want, like the kind of cooking, stove, range, stovetop, whatever it might be. But more important than that is I want to know that I'm loving the experience of being there. And the same goes through when you look at all the rest of the house. But the primary thing is to focus on the quality of experience. So perhaps you like a sense of peace and security and safety. Perhaps you're looking for a sense of joy and upliftment. Every time I walk in the front door, I feel uplifted, embraced, and protected. Those kinds of things. So spirit is hearing, you know, yeah, I want this kitchen or this front door or this living room or whatever, but above all, I want that experience. So it's going to do its best to bring that to us, but how does it do it? It's going to help that reticular system start to notice, where is that? And when you start, so if, let's say you're apartment hunting, you could walk in with the filter about you love the sense of freedom and expansiveness. And it could be a small place or a huge place. A huge place could feel confined and a small place could feel free. But the reticular system is starting to notice, what do I experience when I'm there? And pardon me, because I forgot to turn my phone off, which is a let go. There we go. Geez, you'd think I'd never done these things before. So quality of experience is really, really important. And then repetition is important with these things. So one of the things that I like to do, especially with a new ideal scene, is every evening before I go to bed. So those of you that were with the sanctuary workshops, you'll remember this. I would go into the sanctuary. I create an image of myself, if it's that new apartment or if it's in the new work that I'm doing, or whatever it might be, and start to imagine that quality of experience along with the affirmation, I love the experience of, I love the freedom I experience when, that kind of stuff, and begin to image it in. And that then programs for the sleep state. And then in the morning when I wake up, go back and do the same thing in the sanctuary. That then helps program the basic self for the day. And the more I do that, the more those two start to work in harmony with one another. And they start to bring forward. Judith mentioned something about visual information. Well, I happen to be a fairly visual person, and I'm grabbing my camera right now because one of the things I have to do, remember I grabbed over here to the right for those ideal scenes. Well, I also have a vision board there. And that vision board has all kinds of images. So you'll see JR and it'll say things like, make room for grace. Everything is running right on schedule. One of those parts of me that likes to go, oh my God, time, but well, everything's fine. And joy opens the heart and I'm letting love lead. And I'm calling forward the inner Christ. And well, there's all kinds of things up there that are reminding me of both the physical world that I'm living in terms of like the work and service I provide, but the quality of experience I'm having with Inez in my spiritual exercises. And I shift that thing around. It's got little magnets on it, so I can pull this picture off and put that one up instead. And it's got colors that I resonate with a lot. Those are all helpful reminders, and that it's sitting right here on my right side every day. It's a nice little energetic reminder. And if I ever go to my phone, there it is. So I get to see it a lot. It pulls me into it. I have a little sort of visual affirmation here that sits on my desk: joy, light, and sweetness, to remind myself, that's a good thing to experience and a good thing to share. So a lot of ways to keep that stuff in my consciousness, in my awareness, and in my focus. So let me pause and ask, at this point, anyone have any questions or thoughts? Yes, indeed. Miss Saffron.
Hi. I had a question. When you pulled out your ideal scenes, it looked like it was maybe a half an inch. I don't know if that's true. When you talked about your ideal scenes that you look at in the evening, do you look at all of those, or maybe the top 5? Or
Great question. So I'm going to do a quick screen share just so you can get a good laugh with this also. Can you see this list here?
yes.
Those are all ideal scenes. I've got so many of them. No, I couldn't possibly go through all of them every day. But what I do is whatever I'm most currently working on. And then, I date these. So I've got things that go back over 20 years that are on my computer. but I don't have them all printed out here. The ones that are printed out here are the ones that I've generated in the last year and a half. And they're, so what I do is I pull those out and I look at them periodically. When they're new, I look at them every day and I do them every night. But pretty soon they start to get ingrained. And then one of the nice things is I can look back and see ideal scenes that go back over this arc of many years. And one of the interesting things to see how many things have manifested. Another interesting thing is to see how many things just vanished. Not because they manifested, but because I went, well, wait a minute, who cares? That was just what I was thinking at the time. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is to see the pattern of reappearance.
Mm.
So it lets me know that which I am sort of continually and continuously working on. Because there's always more to work on in my world.
You know, I did want to share one other thing. Thank you. You know, when Inez was on, which was so great, I remember sharing, you know, vision boards don't really work for me as well as affirmations so much.
Yeah.
But, you know, the statement, I'm experiencing miracles as my seemingly good. I didn't use that, but I realized I was expecting that manifestation the way I wanted it. When I opened up to what is possible, and really some miracles have happened for me when I wasn't so fixated on how I thought it should be.
That's why the first phrase is this or something better. Because Spirit often has more than I could have imagined. You know, when I wrote that letter to John Roger in August of 1977 saying, hey, you know, I don't know, maybe we could design something that help these people in the movement manifest these teachings into their daily life in a better way. I had no idea what might be coming. I was thinking very small. Well, maybe we can do these sort of a couple of times a year. And then JR said, well, do you want to move down here and we'll start an organization and you can run it? And I thought, oh, sure, fine. Well, maybe we can do 4 or 5 of these a year. Well, you know, we've reached so many more people than the movement ever thought of having in it, and in 43 countries. So being open lets Spirit bring forward. And then it had to keep pushing on me to expand in order to be able to embrace that. So that's why expansion has been a lot. And I'm expanding in my consciousness, opening in my ability to receive. These kinds of things are very, very helpful.
Thank you.
And by the way, for those of you who know, or even those who don't know, my wife Inez does Ideal Scene work with people, and she doesn't charge for it. It's just part of her ministry. And so, I mean, I can help with that too. So I will, I will put her email in the chat if you want to do something with her. And also put in her phone number. She works a little better with phone calls and phone messages. So let's see if I type that right. Yeah. So, oh, well, I might as well put mine. If you want, let me pull that up. And if you want to schedule a Zoom session with me for no charge, there's a link going into the chat right now too. So I happily do a bunch of these every week for people. So feel free. That will take you to a link that'll let you book something directly to my calendar, and it'll show available times in your time zone. So happy to do that if you'd like. Thank you, Miss Saffron.
Hi, Russell. It's Agapi. Can I share?
Well, I guess you are.
I don't know how to lift to my electronic hand. So if that's okay, unless anyone else is in line.
Well, we'll, Janet, I'm sure will allow the beloved Agape Mu.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you. My heart is swelling. I love you so much. You are part of my family forever. So I have a couple of questions and I would love your light on it and inner guidance. Russell, I don't do ideal scenes, but I manifest a lot of amazing things in my life. And I think I have a little bit of a judgment, like I should do ideal scenes. But when people talk to me about vision boards and ideal scenes, I said, I've written 5 books and I've spoken all over the world, and I never put anything down on paper. Everything came through organically, spirit guiding me to do the next thing and the next thing. I've done enormous ideal since 20 years ago when I thought I'll be married with me in a wedding dress and, being thin, and that never manifested. And JR just said to me, you are supposed to be singular, not single. You are singular, which is a good thing. She said, you are beloved of God, and there you are. That's you're married to the traveler. Anyways, what I love, but now at this point in my life, there are 2 questions. One is that there are a few things I would like more of, which is basically speaking engagements. And I love to speak in public, live audiences, and it's extraordinary, Russell. They come when they come, and I see agents and speaking agents, and man, nothing, zero, kaput. And I go, the power that comes of the spirit and the love that oozes when I'm in front of people. I mean, there is not a single person who will not hug me and say, I saw the light, the spirit is extraordinary. And then there'll be months where nothing will happen. So I don't know if you get any inner guidance on that about me. It's a little bit of a heartache for me, but then I go higher in consciousness and I say, I'm here to serve the Lord, the traveler, and JR knows that. And I'm out there, as you know, between me and my sister, we're always around people. I have an amazing course coming with Mind Valley of 20 videos on my new work, Speaking and Creating with Spirit. That completely came my way. But I don't know if it something that I should do an ideal scene, I should work with you or Inez. I mean, it's something that I would like more of. So that's my one question. And the other one is about Alexander, Ariana's grandson, and my great nephew, which I will ask you afterwards about that. But for this, do you have any inner guidance, anything that you get for me? You know me so well.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been a minute in our lives.
Yes.
A blessed minute. Yeah, a couple of things, and I sense that if we schedule a call, we might go even more deeply into this.
I would love that. Yes.
Please do. So several things are showing up. First of all, as you know, you bubble the light wherever you go.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you're fairly unrestrained,
Mm-hmm.
which is what the light is.
Yes.
And JR would shine the light wherever he went, but he never shined the light or shone the light at the same level of brilliance. So he tuned it down and tuned it up depending on who he was with and what they were capable of. So that's kind of like the first thing. to know that you are that light bubbler. And I don't know why I'm getting that metaphor. but
Yes.
You're that champagne flute of light.
Yes.
The second thing is, when I work with people, mostly organizations in the past, but would ask them about their purpose or their
Yes.
goal or their whatever, and we'd write it up on an easel pad. And then at the end, whatever it was, whether it was a goal or a purpose or a mission, I didn't care what the language was. I'd take
Yes.
a period at the end of it and turn it into a comma, and I'd write "so that." And that is the deepening 2 words. So I want more speaking engagements so that.
Yes. Yes.
Years and years ago,
That's beautiful.
You might have even been there. It was the Living in Grace retreat. It was 1995. And I had an extended sharing with JR. I had just had sort of a big dramatic shift in what I was doing in the world. And I said, JR, I just, and this is in front of all 250 people, right? I go, I don't have any motivation to do anything. And he said, well, what's that about? And I said, well, all my life I've focused on making a difference and making a contribution. And he said, yeah, but now that seems like that's fundamentally a judgment against God. And he kind of said, well, that's interesting. What do you mean? And it was like, well, it's like this: dear God, you're doing pretty good, but boy, if you had me there, boy, could we make a difference. And he kind of cracked up too. And he says, oh, I see. So you're caught between the ego and the spiritual ego. And he said, so what you don't want to do, which is to be acknowledged, is you don't want to get trapped in I'm doing something.
Yes.
So many people who start doing this work out of inspiration
Yes.
move over into the perspiration of the ego, and then they get stuck in that.
Yes.
But so what he said is, but there is this thing called the spiritual ego. Now the ego, so let's take Agape. She has all these experiences all over the world. The Greek goddess is inside of her. You've been in front of all manner of people in large and small settings.
Yes.
You've got enormous skill sets. And that's the ego that the spirit needs in order to deliver its work into the world through Agape.
Exactly.
So the secret sauce here is to keep attuning to the spiritual ego and asking the divine guidance through the inner master, how would you have me serve? And then it uses the ego skill and that, in your case, the bubbler, to take it into the world. And it needs that. So one of the things that I might suggest, and again, we can talk about this at greater length when
Yes.
we call, is I only started doing written ideal scenes 20 some years ago. For the first 50 years of my life, I didn't do them, but all kinds of things manifested, not unlike you.
Exactly.
So part of my first real breakthrough was in 73 when I began visualizing, not writing anything. I just visualized myself standing in front of groups and people saying, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, within 6 weeks, I was running mind dynamics seminars. My previous seminars only had 6 people in them. These now had 100.
Yes.
But I never saw myself as being able to work past 6. But here, this was, again, the reticular system aligning with spirit, and it brought forward the work to match the vision.
Yes.
So I think there's a bunch in there for you.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And I would totally love to take your offer, because I felt like I need some spiritual guidance, and and someone like you who knows me so well in my work and what I do. And as you said, I do take the light wherever I go, and there's so many opportunities, so life is rich. But just for the time right now, what I wanted, thank you, Russell, I take that in and I hear you. Alexander is Christina's little boy, who is 1 year old, and a complete light in our lives.
Mhm.
And Alexander Huffington Needham, if we can send him the light. He's robust, he's healthy. But unfortunately, Chair said it's not unfortunately, whatever his challenge is, that he has allergies that they're testing, nuts, milk, eggs, legumes. And what has happened about 4 months ago, now there is this whole new system that they test the little babies with tiny doses of nuts and things, which never in Christina's lives or Isabella's lives or any kids that I know ever would do that. But now this is the new way that they do it. So he was given a tiny little bit of cashew and went into a complete allergic reaction, was rushed into ER, and was a very traumatic thing to see. He was 8 months old and in ICU for 2 days and recovered beautifully. But now they're starting this whole treatment, and Christina, I was trying to help Christina, and I said to her, let's just do an ideal scene for you and for him to expect a miracle, that he'll outgrow these things. Because he moves into despair. Oh my God, this is like what will happen in his life. He can't go anywhere. He can't go to restaurants. He can't, what kind of a life? And I said, that's future out there. Let's deal with this step by step. And my question is really, and I said to her, Christina, let us expect a miracle. And she said, I like that, Nana. She calls me Nana. I really like that thinking. How would you suggest, can I work with her, or with, obviously he can't do an ideal scene, but how can we work with him, with Christina and me and Ariana and Isabella, who are very much in the consciousness of healing? How can, other than prayer, is there something we could put in? Do you get an intuition of what we can do? And it's just a big level of acceptance. I wrote a letter to JR the other night and burned it. And I said, can you help this little boy get rid of his allergies? But again, we don't know what his karma is with it,
Yeah.
why he, right now.
Yeah, so we can go into more depth on this one too, but here's a couple of little things. First of all, rather than writing JR say, can we take this from him?
Yes.
Like Jesus didn't say, well, can you spare this cup from me? Well, no, that's what you get to do. But maybe a more useful prayer would be, can we accelerate the learning for his highest good?
Yes.
So this condition has been manifested karmically for a purpose.
Yes.
So be revealed to the purpose and accelerate our path through it for the highest good.
Yes.
Indeed, many of these kinds of so-called allergies are simply the body adapting to the planetary system.
Exactly.
And some of that does resolve simply over time.
Exactly.
There may be some other work that could be done there. I'd like to think about that for a moment, but I think that
Thank you.
the second thing would be to did Christina go through Insight?
Yes, she did. She went through
Okay.
Insight 1 and 2. Yes.
Perfect.
And she's on in AA. She 12
Yes.
years on AA. So she's got some spiritual foundation.
Yep. So what I would suggest then is she could bring Alexander into her sanctuary.
Yes.
And invite, and Jer always said this, invite the inner master. Because it could be Jer that shows up, it could be Buddha that shows up, it could be a physician, it could be anything. But
yes.
invite the inner master, and then the three of them dialogue about what's the lesson that is being brought forward here.
Yes.
Now, on my YouTube channel, I recorded 3 sessions with Movement Mondays on using the sanctuary, and one of those was on healing.
Wow.
So you might want to take a look at that. And
Yeah, that's your YouTube, the Russell Bishop YouTube channel.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yes. Definitely, definitely. And I can pass it on. I can definitely pass it on to Christina to do that, accelerating the healing.
Yeah,
Show us how to accelerate the learning process.
exactly. And if she wants to have a chat with me, I'd be more than happy to do so.
Yes, just I think might be supportive because she's taken insight so long ago.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to just bring her into this. She might not even remember how to do that. So that would be wonderful. Thank you so much, my darling. I love you dearly and I appreciate everything you do. And just seeing you right now, it just fills my heart. Thank
Thank
you.
you, darling. Hugs and love to all of you.
Thank you.
Greeks.
Thank you. I'll reach out to you personally to do a session. I would love it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Janet, did you still have something you want to share or question or anything?
Just a perspective of mine doing ideal scene. It's very simple. I would say that with all the discussion that we've had, certainly some of this has really informed some of the way that I'm going to do my creating. I happen to be one of those people that creates a lot with sound and with the way things sound. So I'm not always so much a visual person immediately. And it's never occurred to me that I needed to develop an ideal scene that was actually a sound scene. And so, I mean, that was just like that, just this minute was something that occurred to me. So I, so that, and when I do, I have in the past, and I don't know if these two things are related, I have a hard time committing to an ideal scene. I'll do one and then I'll be like, then I'll start to do it and I'm like, well, that one was good, but maybe there's something more. So it's that whole maybe there's something greater thing that I just seem to default to a whole lot. I don't know if I need to redirect my consciousness. So just your thoughts on that.
A couple of things. First of all, thank you for the clarification about you don't see as much as you hear. When we do inner work, some people see in kind of technicolor, and for some people, inner vision is a sensor or a feeling. And so remember, all of these are just vibrations of spiritual energy. Sound is one part that we see is another part, but it's all in there. Remember that this work that JR brought us is known as Surat Shabd Yoga. And Shabd Yoga is the yoga of the audible light stream. And it's the yoga of light and sound. And sound is the ultimate connection. So, having said that, I play music all day long at everything that I'm doing. And I default to certain kinds of things with certain frequencies and harmonics in them. You might want to take your ideal scenes and record them.
That's a great idea. That's
anybody who's got a smartphone of any kind, there's a recorder built into that. You could just take your ideal scene and record it and then play it whenever you want.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Okay.
And then because you have the technology, you can record it with a backing track, if you will. But see, listening to your own voice is powerful. A powerful way to remember ourselves to that spiritual direction. So yeah, I strongly recommend you consider that.
That's great.
And you might, did you ever do a Travelers Through the Ages class?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So remember the part where you do the dialogue with the traveler you spoke with or you're
Yes.
working with? So you might do a dialogue with the inner master. It could be in the sanctuary or it could be that written form. And so you might start out with your question. And one question I would pose, so what is it such that I am changing my ideal scene so often?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that could be, you said about commitment, that could be.
I
But
think
it,
also I just like a lot of different things.
well,
So
I got a lot of ideal scenes. So yeah, but the fact that you abandon them,
right,
that's where I go, what's that about?
right.
Now, it could range anywhere from I haven't landed on what my true ideal scenes are about for my highest good, align with my soul's purpose, all that kind of good stuff. And it could be, people sometimes in the general world talk about fear of failure. And what I always like to say, well, maybe it's more like fear of success because we failed so many times where we know how to do that. But what if it actually worked? Then what would be required of me? So what would happen if those ideal scenes came true? How would life demand of you differently? How would you demand of you differently? And that may be what you need to work on in order to find that path, not of stable consistency, but of rising, or rising, whichever way you want to watch that. But we're
Right.
rising and expanding in our consciousness. But as we expand in the consciousness, we tend to narrow our focus, which seems counterintuitive.
No, it seems that makes sense to me. I guess that when I'm like in that space of like going to sleep or waking up, I really do tune in and get myself in the place where that ideal moment comes.
Mhm.
And then I think but I always feel like I haven't asked for enough, or I haven't distilled it to the place where it needs to get.
Well, that could be, but again, that's where dialoguing with the inner master might be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I will do that.
Super.
Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you so much.
Anyone else have a question or a comment of some kind?
I wanted to share something, Russell. And well, first of all, thank you. It's been great. I was, preparing the garbage here just to burn some stuff that I no longer need. And during that process, I found the inner master here, and I was kind of wondering, why do I have this dog that I don't want, except I love it, and I want it. And I'm just realizing that if I read the word dog backwards, it's God, So it's amazing. And I'm also realizing how my vibration here in the chest is shifting. At the beginning of this workshop, I had a heavy chest. It was covered with some weird cough, and after I've been clearing the space, it's become lighter. And as I see this beautiful image, I just go, wow, I'm really grateful. If you have anything for me, I love it.
So what is it that is you find most appealing or attractive about the dog?
Oh, its majesty. He looks like a king, or she looks like a king. I don't know, king, queen. I don't know, beauty in its eyes. I don't know. I mean, I've never had this experience before. Contemplating a dog in such a profound, way, part of me is like, maybe you're going nuts, but another part of me goes like, okay, maybe there's something here. I don't know, look at it, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful dog.
Well, your face lit up when I asked you the question. And one of the beauties about dogs is they tend to live in the present. And they tend to be accepting of what reality is in any one moment, and they almost always move to love. So it's kind of reminding you of some spiritual principles, acceptance. J.R. always used to say, hey, the Father's plans are perfect, you just don't like it that way.
Yeah, because I wanted to share that I have been aware of some uncertainty through my consciousness, but also impatience, so acceptance and love come just in perfect timing for me.
Yeah. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Gracias, mi amigo.
Gracias.
Looks like Karen's next, and then Elke. Karen Dutton.
Hi, Russell. I don't know if you remember me. My married name is Karen Dutton, but I used to be Karen Wicker, and I used to live in London.
Yep.
And now I live in Sydney. How are you?
Oh, a Sydney sider, are you?
I am indeed, yes.
Brilliant.
So my question is this. I love the idea of an ideal scene. I'm actually working in another group with ideal scene and vision board. So that's really great. Here's my question. So we have two, I'm happily married with 2 teenage sons, and they are getting to the age and stage. My older one is now at university and busy with a part-time job and university, etc. So he's time poor, and that's fine. He's doing really well. And my younger son is getting to the age where he's pulling away from mum. And that's fine too. They're both doing great and they're thriving, and I'm happy about that. But my ideal scene for me, my life purpose really, when I used to do Insight, always came up as I want to be a mum or a mother. And so it's good that they're being healthy, but my ideal scene would be to spend some time with my boys, but they are too busy to spend time with me. How do you do an ideal scene when it involves other people, but perhaps their ideal scene might be different to yours, or something along those lines?
That is a really important question for everyone. Many people try to do ideal scenes about changing somebody else's behavior. And that gets into psychic manipulation. And those kind of energies can be received by the other person, because remember, thoughts are energies. So if we think about ourselves as a transmitter of thoughts, we're also a receiver. So as a mom, you will have noticed when the boys were babies, one of them might be just fine, and somebody walks in the room and all of a sudden they're disturbed. That person leaves and all of a sudden they're fine, because they're picking up and sensing the energetic. So be careful of that which you are projecting out there, whether it's just in the privacy of your thought or whether it's in an ideal scene that you create. However, you might do something like, I cherish the moments of connection with my sons, however they take place.
I like that.
And so you begin to affirm the quality of your experience independent of what they do or say.
Yeah.
That's really important. And then remember, as when I was sharing with Agape, I said, so when we work with someone around mission, purpose, or goals, at the end, I say, so that. So you said back from early days in Insight, your purpose is you wanted to be a mom. So that, what's the so that?
I think for me, it's about loving, nurturing connections and feeling needed, I guess.
So loving, nurturing connections. That would be a lovely basis for crafting an ideal scene. So I embrace and rejoice in my loving, nurturing, and connections with other people. I joyfully share that loving and nurturing with others. But notice this is about what you are experiencing and what you're doing with it. Now, you may have loving, nurturing to share with other people, and they're not interested right now. But notice I said right now, because one of the things that JR often said is that, hey, if someone in the movement, particularly a minister, were to get on a lift, an elevator, they wouldn't have to say another word. Every other person on the lift or the elevator is blessed just by that energetic presence. So affirm your connection, that you're nurturing yourself in that loving connection. And as you do that, that's what radiates out, is that loving and nurturing connection. And that will create the sense of safety around you. And people go, wow, I don't know why, but I feel so good around you. Well, you're in that loving, nurturing cocoon, if you will. And mums like cocoons.
So how could I write, like, thank you, that's wonderful. So just to clarify, how would I write that onto my vision board or ideal scene?
Well, I gave you sort of the broad strokes. If you want to work more specifically on that, either with myself or Inez, you can book a session. I'd be more than happy to work with you to craft that in a more refined way. But it's basically, you know, this or something better for the highest good. I'm experiencing miracles as my seeming impossible good, etc. And then the turn I'm hearing is I relish the experience of loving and nurturing that abounds in my life through all of my connections. And then I didn't say whether it had to be a physical connection, an internal connection, a familial connection. It could just be walking down the street and we're all connected. So I'd work more on that and then bringing more vibrancy to that in language that resonates best with you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Russell. Thank you.
Absolutely. And please do. Either one of us would be more than happy to do
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. I will. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And Elka.
Hi, Russell.
Hi.
Wonderful to see you and to be with you and to hear you. I tell you, you've been my guardian angel ever since you facilitated my Inside One in London many, many months ago. And I have actually, looking at Karen, you know, after I did my Inside, I assisted on her Inside One. I mean, and to see this beautiful lady now glowing the way she's glowing is such a gift. It's wonderful. Lovely to see you, Karen. Oh,
Lovely to see you too, Elka. Lots of love.
But Russell, you've been inspiration to me for, well, since 84, 85, whenever it was. And you gave me a kick up the backside because I resisted for so long to do anything, but to give you a feeling of where I'm now. I just graduated from MSSTL. 2 years that have opened my heart and soul to really hearing and feeling what JR and your teaching is all about and being it, you know. It's all very good talking about it. It's the being, to me, that is all that matters. And I've just started the DSSTL. So we had our first weekend and wow. JR knows what there's going and I'm just going to follow along the way. It's just being open to the the privilege of having discovered it. And I mean, and you are one of the messengers. And I'm always grateful for you being in my life. Thinking of conscious conversations, you know, which we had here too. I mean, whatever you do is just so uplifting and opens gateways every time for me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that love and light. And to that wonderful husband of yours as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's hiding. No, but he sends his love, and hopefully we'll see you again sooner rather than later. You know,
that would be lovely.
we have to work on you coming over here again. Yeah. And
Well,
yeah, just Ines, send her my love, please.
I shall. Inez and I have actually been chatting about the notion of maybe doing some more of those conscious conversations programs, because we love doing those. So who knows?
Oh, is magical. I mean, it really, I mean, whatever is happening with, or I suppose it applies to me, with MSIA, it is suddenly catapulting to reaching people that is, you know, to give you an idea, as you know, I'm in Miami. Our youngest ministers we just ordained in our house are 18. You know, I feel it's wonderful getting the young people involved and seeing that they hear the message just as we did way back when. I think the time has come again. You know, that's what I feel too. Even my stepson who were always, oh, what are you doing? You know, oh, he's suddenly saying, do you know, when John comes to Miami, we're planning for him to be here in January. Can I come and listen? And I said, sure. You know, it's not shoving it into people's faces, it's being it that, to me, I realize has made all the difference in my life. And I know that the blessings are abundant, you know, in every way. So thank you for being you and for being such a wonderful, wonderful guide.
Well, thank you. It's I'm blessed and humbled. It's I just do my best to follow the light and let spirit speak. And
you do. Thank you. That's the blessings are abundant when you are around. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So, are you seeing the little slide of the brain? I finally found it. I put it in the slide and I forgot to save it. Anyway, whoops. That was the part of the brain where that exists. So this is our little reticular formation, again, right at the base of the skull. So again, that which we tell ourselves repeatedly is programming that. That which we focus on is programming that. And it will go find anything that matches our belief system, whether it's a positive or negative, limiting or expanding, because the universe is full of data to support any of that. So the whole notion here is just imagine. You know, JR used the term imagination as to image in and act it out. And he reminded us that any word that ends in ION means requires action. And so creating the images is important. And then we need to do the follow-up with the work that'll get us there. So again, remember, you can book a free session with me. This is the URL. It's just russellbishop.com. And if you don't remember anything else except that, that's fine. You can click on the contact button. There's my email if you want to be in touch with me. And I'm really open to receiving any donations that help support this work. And so if you feel called to, you can. but above all, imagine. So Janet, Steve, back to you.
Well, Russell, we didn't say it at the beginning of the evening, but I have to tell you how grateful and happy and joyful and, oh gosh, maybe this was one of my ideal scenes that just happened tonight. I think it was. Anyway, we thank you all for coming. We will be here every Monday. Next week, in the next couple of weeks, we will be doing soul awareness seminars. In October, Marianne Somerville is going to come and talk about the importance of connection and communication, and in ways that I'm not describing in the best possible way. But I do want for all of you to know that you are always welcome here. And if you'd like to be on our email address list, I think Hillary has put the email address in the chat. So we will see you all the next time around. And just thank you so, so very much. Really, really appreciate all of you, from everybody from Movement Monday. You all are Movement Monday, wherever you are. And just right now, if everybody can just like look inside, see that giant puff of light, and let everything just expand exponentially, so that we are all together in that way, and anything that needs to go can go. So I love you all very much. Thank you so much, Russell. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being one of my ideal scenes.
Well, thank you all. It's a blessing to be with you, and I look forward to our next opportunity to do something together.
I cannot wait. Thank you.